I'd like to introduce our speaker for this month, Mary Fleener.
Thanks for asking me to come on board. Actually, Donna talked me into it. It's her fault.
I'm doing quite a bit of tail twisting, I have to admit that.
Well, she knows good talent when she sees it. Right?
Yeah.
I got loads more, believe you me, Bill. I'll be lining up a bunch of poor suckers.
Well, should I just start yammering or what?
Yammer away.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I want to talk about this Chinese dinner that we had at Comic Fest because it's a great story. We had a panel and it was women in comics, yawn, but it was Donna and Roberta and myself and Joyce Farmer. And was it just us four?
I think so.
Well, I had to reel in these wildcats and have them send me images and do a power thing and had a timer to make sure everybody was being very good. And they all were. And there was a guy out in the audience named Kevin Smith. And after the panel, he came up and he said, I like that so much. I want to buy you all dinner. And he handed me $200. And I'm like, golly. Well, there was a really good Chinese restaurant on Convoy. Which is usually packed because it's a very Asian neighborhood and it's traditional to go out for dinner on Saturday. So I thought, okay, we got to get there early. The place was empty. We were the only ones in there. Roberta got a shrimp dish and there must have been 200 shrimp on this plate because they had all this food. And don't you remember, Donna?
I remember it was, we all ordered a dish and they heaped the table with it. And it was like zombies eating brains. We were having so much fun. It was a ball. I'll never forget that dinner. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, Kim Munson was there. Bruce Simon came along and Trina Robbins and Steve Lealoa. And that bill came to $176. And some of us got booze too. So we were able to give them a really nice tip, which I'm sure they appreciated, but that was fantastic. I couldn't believe that guy, Kevin. And I see him every year at the Comic Con. He's a really great guy. And, he'll buy 6 books at a time, just take out his wallet. He's got a wad of bills and you're like going, I'd like to get to know you better. So I don't know. And then Comic Con, just my luck, they invited me to be a special guest this year. And they put you up at the Marriott and they give you money for food and they treat you like queen for a day. And I'm afraid. I'm working on a book right now and I don't want to get sick. I want to get my book done. Then I can get sick or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's, it won't be done till 2023, 200 pages. So I'm not the fastest drawer in the world. So I have to keep my priorities in order and staying home. The Comic Con will be back. Yeah. And, I just have to be careful, and a lot of people, I have friends that are anti-vaxxers and they think it's all a hoax and there will be those kind of people there. So I'm going to be, wait till, I'm more comfortable. That's all.
Well, you mean the San Diego Comic Con?
Yeah, they're doing it. It's called San Diego Comic Con Special Edition.
Special edition.
Weekend. Yeah, a Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, that's crazy.
Millions of people come from Tijuana and Mexico to come up here, and then they go back. I mean, we have this every weekend. It's like a parking lot on our freeways. I can see the freeway top of the hill behind me, and it would take. I've had gigs down in San Diego where I left at 5:30 and it took me 2.5 hours to get down there.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty good. Well, there's a lot of people who live here.
Yeah.
So I'll, just have Thanksgiving somewhere else. Actually, I'm having Thanksgiving with an English professor named Rocco Versace, and he teaches at Palomar JC in San Marcos. And he teaches comics as literature.
Nice.
So I've spoken his class 4 times, and the first time was like late 90s, and it was all guys.
Froze up.
And then 2 years later, it was the women in there, and now it's more maybe just a couple guys, and it's all women in the class.
Yeah. Hey Mary, you got some fantastic new projects. Could we be seeing the art and the projects that you've got? I mean, we're really excited about all the work you've been doing lately. We want to see it.
I don't know how to do that.
Just hold it up to the screen.
Oh, you mean behind me?
Well, your books, your art, whatever you got, any way you can share it, hold it up and show it and tell people what you do. And in the chat, you can also put in all kinds of links. And if you put the links, you put the link in at the chat, Bill could probably go find the websites you're pointing out, and then he can share it and show what you got.
Well, the website is www.maryfleener.com. And then, oh no, I think it's maryfleener.blogspot.
I believe it.
Blogspot.
Oh God, I forgot.
Anyway,
Anyway,
blogspot.com.
And Facebook, I'm an open book, so you can see what I'm working on. I'm kind of doing, showing some pages that I'm working on in progress, trying not to give away, what I'm doing. But Mineshaft magazine that comes out of North Carolina, issue number 41 should be available soon. And I have the first 5 pages of my graphic novel, The Happy Hour. And then the next issue, I'm going to have 4 pages of from the same book. So the Happy Hour, that's the story of, well, the Happy Hour was the name of a bar that I played at in Garden Grove. And it's a bar band memoir, but it's really a full circle coming of age story, because when I was a kid, I showed aptitude for music and dance and cartooning and comics. And all the adults did their level best to take the wind out of my sails. Lessons that I hated, telling me I wasn't good enough, and I got nothing but resistance, it seemed to me, as a child, for doing things that it's what I wanted to do. My parents thought I was going to be a tomboy because I was into comics. I didn't like girl stuff. I hated ballet. I wanted to wear my brother's clothes, stuff like that. And this continued even when I was in college. And finally I just said, F it. And I just dropped out and I threw away my art supplies. And I said, I'm no longer an artist. I'm going to be a musician. So I concentrated on that for 5 years. And I almost killed myself because when you play in a bar and you do it Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 1.5 years, you will do drugs. You will drink. Cigarette smoke everybody smoked. And this was 1976. So it was pre-internet, pre-AIDS, pre-cell phone. It was a time where it was Studio 54 all over the world. And then one day I was sitting at a party and I started drawing, and my drawing ability came back, and my muse patted me on the head and said, good girl. And so I decided to do what I wanted to do, which was comics. So I'm self-taught, obviously. I mean, I wish I'd done what Roberta did when I was in college. I wish I was an illustration major, because they actually appreciated the craft of drawing and traditional art. Everyone else wanted to be a conceptual artist. You remember, Roberta, how stupid some of those shows were in the student art gallery? My God, somebody would take a piece of foam and put a screw through it. It would be called, self-realization or something like that. And so in the printmakers, we were pretty retro too, because we were doing a style of artwork that was centuries old, and a lot of it's been replaced by paint. Well, nobody uses paint thinner anymore. Nobody uses oil-based paints. They're all soy-based, and you can clean your plate with easy green. But it was very toxic, that studio at Long Beach State. And so I think being an illustrator is probably the healthiest art major you could probably be then. So that's what my book's about me finally getting my way, and sort of a happy ending. And I'm only on page 40. But I'm trying to, I'm going back. It's funny writing a memoir. I've done a lot of autobiographical stuff, but I'm always like the onlooker watching everybody be weird. And so this time I got to draw the dirt under my fingernails.
Oh.
And so, so the first chapter has 3 sex scenes in it alone. And because it's an underground book. You're not going to see it in any libraries. I hope, maybe college. But I want to do an old-fashioned, underground comic book. So that's what I'm doing. Any questions?
So you said you had a book. The book about bees was banned.
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
There's a nationwide concerted effort by these fanatics and I don't know who they are. It's you know, they have names for them, but who knows? And I read about this on Facebook, and apparently they go into libraries and they want to know, oh, do you have any LBGD books? I'd like to get some for my son. He's you know, searching. And so they'll show them the books, and then they write them down, and they all of a sudden go on a forbidden list. And so in this library in Bloomington, Illinois, some librarian thought it'd be cute to put the children's books with some young adult books. So the cover of Billy the Bee looks like a child's book. And they have, I think it's children's on the first floor, young adults second, and adults on the third. So there's no way that the books, you know, they're separated. And so these people went to a city hall meeting or school board meeting, and they had a list of these 10 books, and Billy the Bee's on the list. And I'm like, okay, the bee says shit once. Now here these same people are saying fuck Joe Biden, but they can't handle seeing a bee say shit. And then there's a mating scene between drones and the queens. And if anybody finds anything objectionable about that, you are one kinky person. I mean, I'm here to tell you. So, but there's nothing like no bad publicity, as they say. And Gary Groth is thrilled. He loves this kind of stuff. But the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund is on it. I've gotten a couple of emails from them, and they are starting to write letters and take this very seriously. And I guess, you know, even Raina Telemaje, I can't pronounce her last name.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, she did a book called Drama. It's about these two boys that make friends with this girl, and one of the kids is gay. You know, it's sold millions of copies. It's not like this is something weird, but these people are, they don't care about the children. They don't care about the morality. They just are control freaks that have, you know, psychological problems. And it's really serious. So now we get in here in Encinitas. I just heard today one guy, it's on the San Diego school district. He wants to start looking in the libraries here. And I mean, when we opened our library in Encinitas, we got a brand new one 10 years ago. The first two books I checked out was Frank Zappa, the story of Frank Zappa. And then this gal who wrote How to Make Love Like a Porn Star, Jenna Jameson. That was in her library. And
sounds like our library.
Well, it's her autobiographical story, and there's no nude pictures in there or anything. A lot of sexy looking poses and stuff, but nothing graphic. But you can find anything. I mean, there's dykes to watch out for. Is that going to go, you know, be pulled out of our library? Robert Crumb. I mean, it never ends. Then you'll start on the movies. Maybe there's going to be movies.
As a former librarian, as a public librarian, I have to defend librarians that we've been fighting this kind of challenge, censorship for many, many, many years. And sometimes books will just disappear.
Yeah, no. Don't get me wrong. I am not putting down the librarians. I'm putting down these fanatical right-wing nut.
I understand. Yeah.
Okay, good. I applaud you. You know, I worship you. So that's where that's at. And they asked me to be on a panel for the Comic-Con special edition. Betsy Gomez emailed me, and I'm not doing it. You know, for health reasons, or you know, I'm scared to do it this year.
Yeah.
But at least there's a panel and they're talking about it. So this is good.
Are they doing any online? I know they have.
Oh, I remember they did. Oh, geez, yeah. I hope so. They certainly did it last year for Comic-Con. They had 400 panels that they organized in 3 months or something. So I'm sure. All right, you know, I'll ask Jackie Estrada. She would know.
Yeah,
Michael, do you know? Michael Dooley, do you know will these panels for the special edition be online, do you think?
I don't know.
Well, if you were on a panel, they would be. Yeah.
Well, what other, do you have pearls of wisdom for us other cartoonists?
Pearls of wisdom?
Oh, I know you do. Or crazy crap. Call it whatever you want.
Let's clean it up. Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. You have to say when you can't answer it right away. That's a good question. I don't know. I know a lot of you use Wacom tablets. I'd like to know, how do you do it? I've tried. It's really
Oh, you
hard.
mean what you need? Okay, you're probably got something in which you're drawing on the tablet, but it's coming up on your computer.
Oh, I don't even bother. I still use.
No,
really
you don't want to do that. You want to have just a regular tablet and draw on the tablet.
I know. I
Yeah,
can't do it.
you need maybe you need a better pen.
I don't know. I tried it years ago. It
Oh,
was,
they're way better now. They're way
it was like
better.
doing this, you know.
Yeah. No, the ones you do now is you draw right on the panel. And I'll tell you what, I'll get you in contact with someone who says, a friend of mine, Lynn Hunter, and she's got a plate that she puts right on top of the tablet. So when you draw on it, it feels like paper.
That would help.
So I'll get you two together, and I'll just help. She's really gotten into making these things work. And I'll tell you about a great little pen that I got, and we'll get you doing the digital stuff. We're gonna drag you heel first into the 21st century.
Yeah, but then you don't have any original art that you can hang in a frame and give the gallery 50%. I miss that. Yeah, that's one thing I did this year or 2 years ago. Art and I got a divorce because I'm sick of the art world and I never want to set foot in Los Angeles ever again. It's dangerous up there, and it's awful. It's just awful. So I decided to stay true to my comic lover. And no, it was a good decision to make. I mean, unfortunately, I have hundreds of frames that I invested in, for art shows, but I'll use them one of these days. But that was the other thing I wanted to, Roberta, you were on my mind. Plug for a book that we're looking for a publisher, Joyce Farmer and a guy named Sandy Jimenez, who's associated with World War III, which Peter Cooper and Seth Tabachman do. She thought of an idea of doing a book about climate change.
Yeah.
She's got all the artwork and she's got a good agent, and I'm sitting on pins and needles hoping she gets this published soon, because everybody's talking about it and we're all living in it. And Roberta did a story for it. I did. Who else is in there, Roberta?
Oh, I have trouble keeping track, I think.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot on your mind. So anyway, that's another thing that's coming up that I think is important. Slow Death came out last year. The guy John Cook that did the Big Book of Weirdo, they revived Slow Death, and it was pretty good. These kind of books are the kind of books that should be in libraries, that discuss these things that we're living in.
Oh, I have a question for you, Mary.
Thank you.
Well, just like your early comics, I remember having it was like a mini comic called Hoodoo or something. Was that one of your oldest ones, or Hoodoo?
Well, Hoodoo was the first 32-pager 7x10 comic that was published by Ray Zone.
What motivated you to, a lot of it was like music oriented, right?
Well, yeah, I made a joke yesterday. I'm an old black bluesman trapped in a white girl body. I just love blues and jazz. My brother thinks I sound like Sue Foley. I don't know if you've ever heard her sing, but I'm trying to sing like Bonnie Raitt. I'll never be Nina Simone, although I wish I could. So I love jazz and blues. In fact, in high school, I was lucky enough to see a lot of the jazz greats like Bill Evans. I saw him at Shelley's Manhole up in LA, and Herbie Hancock when he was, probably 30, and he hasn't aged a day since I saw him in 1970. And so I had two older friends that were into jazz, and they had a car. So we went to all these jazz concerts. I saw John Handy, all those guys. And so a lot of the blues lyrics are very witchy. They talk about the black cat bone that you carry in your pocket, and the mojo hand, and casting spells on people. And, it's voodoo. It's not voodoo, it's sympathetic magic. Voodoo is Haiti, hoodoo is American. So somebody said, you need to read Zora Neale Hurston. And I go, all right, I'll give it a go. And the first book I read by her was Mules and Men, and they are folk tales She was born in Eatonville, Florida, went to Barnard College and studied anthropology with a guy named, I can't forget, he's a famous anthropologist. And she had a patron, a woman named Mrs. R. Osgood. They gave her money to go down to the South and collect the folk tales that she had heard as a kid. And all the stories are written in a African-American vernacular. And of course, this drove people like all the Harlem Renaissance guys crazy because they were trying to speak Elizabethan and proper English. And she said, no, the language and the accents of the people here are beautiful, and I want to preserve them. So she studied with voodoo doctors and did these rituals where they do the black cat bone, where you have to, what do? You have to drown a cat and bury it. I mean, they're just, it's anthropological. And a lot of my friends that are animal people hate these things. Oh my God, it's animal exploitation. Well, it's history. So that's what it is. So I did 28 pages because back then it would take me about a month to do a page, and I wasn't using a brush yet. And I didn't, it was kind of, learning as I went along. But Ray did a really smart thing. He published the comics on really nice thick cardstock and nice thick white paper. And this was 1988, and I still have copies that look just as good as they did when it was published. So that was my first one. And Peter Bagg did a book about Zora Neale Hurston called Fire, and he really did a good job. I think Drawn and Quarterly published it. I'm not sure. But if you want to learn about Zora Neale Hurston, pick up Peter's books, because I adapted her stories in my style, and I didn't really cover about her life or anything like that. But he does, and he really did his homework. I guess he saw a story I did in Tits and Clits about a Jamaican bride and how a girl prepares herself for her wedding night. And that got him interested in Zora. And that issue of Tits and Clits, that was once again, Joyce Farmer. That was her title she started. And when I met her, she had kind of run out of gas, and they'd been harassed at a bookstore, ironically called Fahrenheit 451 in Laguna Beach. And undercover agent bought the last copy of Tits and Clits, and they made a big deal out of it, and they were going to close down the store, and everybody went through the changes. And Lynn Shively, her partner, thought her ex-husband was going to take her kids away. So all this stuff can get really hairy, and I've been a victim of this as well. I'll get into that later. So anyhow, so I said to Joyce, you've got to do one more issue. And she goes, no, I don't want to. I don't want to. I go, I'll help you edit it, because I wanted to know what it was like to edit a comic book. So that's how I met her. And that's how that started. So okay, as long as I'm yammering, I'll tell you about my tale of woe too. I used to have a P.O. box at the post office in downtown Encinitas, and the mail, I mean, to answer Roberta's question again, I started out doing mini comics. So I did mini comics from about 83 to 88. I mean, and every day I go down there, the envelopes full of quarters and little mini comics, and all these people, because people in zines would review the mini comics, and then you would write them and order their mini and send them a couple of quarters, and then they'd send you a couple of quarters, and postage was really cheap back then. And so I started doing my second comic book was Slutburger, which was autobiographical mostly. And I was inspired by Tits and Clits, because I always thought that term slut for women was utterly ridiculous. And I wanted to make it silly as I think it is. So I thought of a dumb name, that's Slutburger. And so I started getting orders for that. And people, a lot of guys would send me pictures of themselves and naked women on the envelope, or say Satan kicks ass, and just to try to be weird. Well, somebody at the post office, who was a self-appointed censor, started opening my mail, convinced that I was getting porno, I guess. And the horrible thing was, I was working for Hustler at the time, because they paid $1,800 for a 2-page illo, and it was great work to have. It was very, very serious articles too. It wasn't just, wah. So I noticed my mail was being opened more and more. So I closed my P.O. box. And I go, somebody's doing, this is getting out of hand. And the post office did two things. They did not forward my mail to me for a year like they're supposed to. And somebody sent me a sting operation. They sent me an envelope. It said Asian American Tarzana. It was a P.O. box. And when you opened it up, there were pictures of naked 9-year-old boys in there. And then this quiz that asked you, there was gay and lesbian. Do you like underage pictures of underage kids? Would you ever watch a video? I mean, it was just this, it was so obviously a sting. I couldn't believe it. So I talked to an attorney at the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, and he advised me on what to do, which was get everything out of your house, like all the books by Peter Sotos and Jim Goad. And if you have guns, and I'm going, guns? God. And so I had 2 shopping bags full of comics that I thought maybe somebody, the FBI might knock on my door and raid my house. I don't know. So the guy at the Comic Legal Defense Fund said, surrender the document, fill out a form, tell them you never want to get this before, ever again, but this will open the door that they'll open your mail probably for the rest of your life. It seems to have tapered off. That 3 years ago, I ordered some pencils and the box was open. So it continues. And like Joyce said, when this stuff happens, it really changes you. And you just don't trust anybody anymore, that writes you. I'm very suspicious of people that want to friend me on Facebook. I check out all their stuff, like their interests, where they've lived, and their posts and everything, because there's a lot of bad people out there that, they think I'm bad, and they should do something about it. And this has been going on with the underground comics for a long time. So, but I feel compelled to tell these stories. I've been at panels at Comic Con where people go, man, that's a bummer of a story, man. Sorry to hear that. Well, you need to know. So there's a word of wisdom, you guys. Just, when you sell comics that are adult, be sure you get that age statement. You have to be 18 and older to, buy this thing. And for a long time, I wouldn't mail anything to anybody over the state line, because that's how they busted Mike Diana, which I don't know, that story, but he was doing these pretty get down mini comics, and he was mailing them over state line, and that's what they got. It's a long story, but he got in trouble, big trouble. So.
Yeah, I've noticed frequently with libraries and comics that even when it means well, that still gets mixed up in libraries. I mean, for example, our public library seems to divide the graphic novels between the art section and young adults, and it generally seems to the distinction when they're not superheroes seems to be which librarian bought them. So one time I found From Hell in the young adult section. Not that I'm being pro censorship or anything, but if there's any graphic novel that needs a message on the back saying, parents, please take a long look at this and don't say we didn't tell you, didn't warn you, it's From Hell.
Can I make a quick concession? Now, who's the librarian on here? We have a librarian, Carla. Now, Carla can tell you that if you want your book in the correct section, you have to put that in the indicia, because Carla, of course, you guys look at the indicia and you see the section that it's supposed to be in with the BizEc codes, right?
Well, cataloging, it's not, I never did that, but cataloging is difficult with graphic novels and comics. It's really difficult.
But we do have these days, when people put the indicia in, they do put in the BizEc codes about whether it's young adult or whether or not it's a graphic novel or comic book or whatever it is.
Can't always be categorized as one thing, but it's up to the parents. Like Bill said, parents have to be active.
Yes, they do. And I don't know, our librarians are very, very proactive on this. And basically the attitude up there is that control your kids. Those are your kids. And why are you not protecting them?
Yeah, you can't leave it up to the library staff to
No, you can't.
supervise
No.
kids. It's not our job.
Well, it just kills me. They can get on the internet and see like amazing things, and you're worried about a book. I mean, geez. So
Well, part of it is the fact that we have images and they're powerful.
Yep. That's true.
Speaking of images, Bill, in the chat, there are links to Mary's site if you want to call stuff up and have her comment on
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
on her site.
I have her page open now if she wants me to do that. I can.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
Let's look at some pictures.
okay.
Yeah, Mary, if you shared your own page, because it's a simple share, then you could maneuver the page yourself and just show it off.
Yep.
You mean Facebook page?
Well, no, you're maryfleener.com.
Yeah, so anyway, here is Mary's page. So if you want to tell me where you want me to go.
Oh my gosh. All right. Oh, this is cool. All right. Well, the menu is to the right of contact. There's three little bars.
So, okay, I'm on gallery.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Go to gallery.
Yeah, hit the covers. They're gorgeous.
That's my favorite thing to do are covers.
Yeah, there's the covers.
It's so easy. It's only one picture.
Nice.
There we go. Yeah.
I don't have Hoodoo on there. I wonder why.
There
it is.
There we go. It has to feed.
So,
well, I'll tell you about Hoodoo. I was probably the last person in North America to cut color with Zipatone.
Oh my
That's why he's red instead of brown, because I think this was the second time I used cut color. And I don't know, do you all know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
We have the three layers. You have cyan, magenta, and yellow. And then you have to pick dots. There used to be the Zipatone thing. It would go from 10% to 100%, which is ruby lith. And you would, if you wanted to have green, you would have to have certain concentration of dots from cyan, a certain concentration of dots from the yellow to make a green. And if you wanted a lime green, you'd use more dots for the yellow and so on. Yeah. So, and then there was gradation. You could get some screens that were gradiated. That's why that's not perfect, like all the Photoshop gradients are now. And so this was so hairy to do that I was starting to have dreams where the landscape was peeling off in layers of magenta and cyan. And I was like, oh my God. And after about 15 years, all the acid, so you do this on clear acetate. You put the black and white artwork down first, then you do the acetate. You do yellow first, then magenta, then blue. Well, after about 15 years, it all started warping and twisting, and I had to throw it away. It started getting cloudy, and I don't know, it was because of the oils on my finger or the adhesive from the Zipatone. I'm not sure. So
it's gorgeous.
Oh, and Tits and Clips, that was cut with that was the first time I did it. Joyce told me how to do it. And so there's Slepper. Oh, there's my friend Luke Miller. No, go back to the tattoo guy. Okay, when Comic-Con was at 2nd and B in San Diego, this would have been 1980. So the first year at the big place now is 1991. So this would have been 89. And I did a oil painting. It was my first oil painting where I did it like my drawing. And I got this advice from good old Bert Hogarth that I met. Said, you need to do paintings like your drawings. And I go, yeah, you're right. So I did that. And some guy came up to me and bought it. He had a gold tooth and long dark hair, and he had tattoos all over his arm. And 2 or 3 years later, I ran into Robert Williams at a party, and he goes, Mary, did you get your video yet? And I go, no. And he goes, ooh, you're in for a surprise. And I'm going, well, what is it? And he goes, I'm not telling you. So a couple of days later, I get this VCR videotape, put it in the machine, and it's this guy with his whole back done like my painting.
Wow.
And it's just, I couldn't believe it. And then the next couple of days, we went down to the liquor store down on 101, and here was International Biker Tattoo with him on the cover. And I go, man, I really made it now. I'm on the cover of International Biker Tattoo, man. That's some street creds. Anyway, he's a great guy. He had twins, and he gives tours in New York City, and he takes you to places that even Sid and Nancy wouldn't go to, because he's born and raised in New York. So he gives these tours and takes people to these crazy places. And then at the end of the tour, he takes off his shirt and everybody goes, oh. So the front of him is done like that too. He has a kimono space in traditional Japanese tattooing. They don't tattoo you here. And then he has a face here, kind of looks like that one, and one on this side, and one's frowning and one's smiling. So his whole body is, he's, you know, covered in my art.
Wow.
And he
Wow.
still likes it. That's amazing.
Incredible.
An incredible guy too. He was a junkie on the streets of New York at age 14, turning tricks at 53rd and 3rd, just like Dee Ramone. And then he joined Narcotics Anonymous when he was about 18 and got his life together. So it's a fascinating person.
Hmm.
So next, oh, can I hit this? I bet I can.
Which one?
Actually, Mary, if you go to your website, okay, open your website.
Oh, I'm not
On
on
your
a
screen.
computer. I'm not
Oh,
on a
you're on a great computer. Okay. Just have Bill help you guide through this. Just talk him through it and he'll help you find what you need because he's got it open.
Okay. Yeah, we got a new computer last year. My husband took the job of ordering everything, and he got me a computer with no camera.
Oh, is he
He's
still
an
alive?
He's an engineer. So what were you smoking, honey? All right. So, well, let's talk about Twisted Sisters.
Okay.
What happened was Wayno, who does Bizarro, told me about this, where you take your black and white artwork, and instead of making a copy or a photograph, you could get transparencies made in the 80s and 90s, which were an emulsion layer on your acetate. And then you could paint the background with cell vinyl animation paints, just like a animation cell. And then they would put it on a drum, and then this laser thing would divide it into cyan, magenta, and yellow. So this was done with that method, and it's too bad because you have a beautiful piece of artwork that you could sell, and but as everything became digital, cartoon color went out of business. You can't even find animation paints anymore. Guy Caldwell from Ripoff Press used to use gouache paints before he knew about animation paints. And the problem with that is if the camera is on too intensely, you can see the brush strokes. I think the first issue of Slutburger, we had that problem on the back cover. So it's a lost art, it's a lost technique. And I only have a few pieces left of stuff that I back painted. So next.
Okay.
Well, that's Life of the Party, and that was a collection of the best stuff from Slutburger, and that came out in 1994. Fantagraphics.
Yeah. A lot of this looks very cubist. Were you a fan of Picasso and some of the other crowd? Or?
No, I hate modern art.
Okay.
I don't like modern art at all. I like Egyptian art,
Mm-hmm.
and I like First Nation, Native American or Native art, like the Inuit stuff. When I was a kid, we lived in Vancouver, and that probably influenced me more than anything because there's totem poles everywhere, especially over in West Van. And then they had the big museum at UBC of the carvings of this guy. He just died last year, William something. He's got a real Anglo name, but he's Native Canadian. And I just love those, just that style. It's just great. And the futurists. And Wilfredo Lam, who's a Chinese Cuban painter. I like him very much, but most modern art doesn't do the thing for me. I don't like it.
Well, you might like Preston Singletary's glass art. There's a documentary coming out about him soon.
Ooh,
Preston Singletary.
Oh, Singletary. That's
Yeah,
a
and
great.
he used to teach, and he's Native American. I think you said Tlingit or something like. I don't get the names right, but a documentary is coming out about him, and he's used to teach at Pilchuck and everything. Really cool guy.
I'll probably love it. Yeah, I'll probably love it. Okay, Tinkle. What was it again? What was his name?
Preston Singletary. And if you just go look on Facebook, you'll find him.
Preston.
Let me.
Finkelterry. Okay, what a name.
I'll look it up and see if I can find the proper spelling, but you can keep talking.
Okay. All right, yeah. Oh, by the way, that was too, that was, I didn't do that. That was the first digital art cover. Somebody at Fantagraphics did that. But I sent them, my color used to be like, I take a Xerox with colored pencil. I mean, like I'm retro. Okay, this was an example of the back painting too. And I still have this cover. And Matt Groening thought it would be fun to, instead of doing Bongo or the Simpsons characters and Zongo, he wanted to do underground comics. And he asked me if I wanted to do all ages, and I said, I don't know. Maybe I'll try. So we were out surfing one day, and some guy said, he said, "Why don't you Cucamongas get out of my way?" And I went, ooh, and I thought, oh, Tiki's at surf. That might be fun. So the problem was he asked Gary Panter to do a title and myself, and the pay was pretty good, and we kept our rights to our artwork, and the pay's never that great, but I thought Matt Groening, it'll at least get out there. And the first one they did was Jimbo, which was, or Jim, I forget it was Jim or Jimbo. Well, the retailers took one look at Gary's work and just went, what's this crap? Because they're idiots. They want Betty Page and guys with muscles. And capes.
How you doing?
Huh?
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, I'm good.
Oh, it's Roberta.
Oh,
let's eavesdrop on her conversation. So anyway, I did the Tiki thing. That was fun. It was all wordless. I didn't use any words in there. I had a game in the middle that had a few words. And then I did 2 more issues, and the sales were dreadful. The Zongo line was cursed, because of this prejudice against original art. It's not superhero or something. So I pulled the plug after 3 issues. It wasn't my thing. It really wasn't my thing. And as a result of this, I did a deal with Nickelodeon. They thought that maybe they could use me as a tax write-off. And it was 2 weeks into the deal, I hated it. I don't like meetings. I don't like people telling me what to do. I especially don't like people telling me I don't know anything about animation, which this gal I work with was constantly hammering on me. Well, I do know a lot about animation because my mother was an animator for Disney. And so I know a lot about animation. So I wrote it out for 1.5 years, got a little money in my pocket. And when they passed on the idea, we went out for dinner to celebrate, because it was just not, I had to live at the Holiday Inn. And fortunately, my attorney had the rights to revert back to me. So that was a good thing. So that at least, I had something. But then Zongo, they offered, deals to Jay Stevens and even Sergio that were terrible. I've heard. So, and I asked this guy I was working with, why are you screwing over these people? They're really good people. And he goes, well, we just want a taste, just a taste. So he starts talking this jive ass stuff to me. And I'm starting to just hate these people. I love Matt, and Bill Morrison was on board too. And he's a great guy, but it was corporate. It was totally corporate. They had their offices in a big, huge building down in Century City. So when I delivered this comic, I put it in a pizza box because I thought it'd be funny to go in the office with a pizza box and my artwork's in there. And it was all these Wall Street people in the elevator, and they're all looking at me like, oh, there's the pizza girl. And I drove all the way, 2.5 hour drive to the offices. I drop off the artwork, and they're kind of like, okay, bye, get out of here. So that didn't sit very well with me. I think when you work with publishers and everybody's taking a risk, you're not making much money, you're a team, or at least you're supposed to be a team. And I know Gary Groth has a bad reputation, but I've enjoyed working with him, and this is my 3rd book, the Happy Hour, that I'm doing with them. So it was, you have to do these things once, So next. Oh yeah, this is another thing I thought I'd try. Try to, take a walk in the wild side. Eros Comics came about at Fantagraphics, they wanted to do sex comics, you know, that were like, they thought would be very popular. And there were a few titles that made some noise, but it was basically wanker stuff. And most of it was terrible. And I was in downtown Encinitas, and I saw these two girls talking on the payphone where we had payphones, and they were dressed just like this. And I was just like, kind of like turned into mom for a minute. And I don't have any kids, but I was just like, how can they go dressed like that? I look at those nipples and that tummy, and I went, ooh, I could do a story about these girls. So I did the first story for Dirty Comics that Eric Reynolds edited for Fantagraphics. Okay, I've done 5 books. And this was the 32 pager that they now call floppies because nobody does them anymore. And I was selling them at a local bookstore. And my friends who read the story said, you've got to come down here. You've got to meet this woman. So I meet this woman, and she goes, oh, I'm glad to meet you. That's my daughter on the cover. And I go, what? Yeah, she wears her hair like that, yellow hair. And I gave her pink hair, but she had yellow hair. And I go, and she walks around with these, you know, handkerchief tops. And she goes, yeah. And I told her she kept dressing like that so to make a cartoon out of her. And you did. So I'm buying this for her. So that was an interesting thing. I never saw them again either, right? They were just there on the corner that one day. Next. Let's see what else we got. I'm going to talk about paintings too. Oh, Mineshaft. Well, Mineshaft is great. Y'all know about Mineshaft?
No.
It's a couple who live in North Carolina. They live in a modest house. She works at the universities there in Durham. And they knew nothing about comics, knew nothing about any of us. And Everett went to see the Crumb movie, and he didn't know anything about Robert Crumb. And he got so inspired by seeing that movie that he wrote him out of the blue and said, I'm thinking of starting a magazine. Would you do the cover? So Crumb wrote him back. I think he was impressed that this guy was like a innocent that didn't know anything. And he kind of took him under his wing, and he doesn't do original art. He sends him copies, of course. But he's asked people like Peter Bagg to do covers, and Phoebe Gluckner and myself and Robert Armstrong and this guy from Germany named Christoph Mueller. And he does it on offset printing. So the little books they're pretty pricey, but they're beautifully made. They're digest size. So he does stuff. Dave Collier's been in there. Gosh, even Art Spiegelman was in the last issue. He had to hop on the bandwagon. And they're great people. They have a little daughter, and she wants to be a cartoonist now, of course. So next one. This was fun. Craig Yo, I worked with him on the art of Mickey Mouse that Hyperion did, I think. And that was in the 90s. And he's a real wheeler dealer. He's one of these guys that gets a budget from a company, and then he gets most money, and he, you know, doles it out to the artist. You know, everybody does that. But he was doing these Popeye variant covers, and he asked me to do one, and I said, you bet. And so the first one I did, they didn't like. And I said, no, you got to give me another chance. I got to draw Popeye. I gotta. And so they settled on this one. But if you'll notice, I forgot one very important thing about Popeye. He's not smoking a pipe. I got so into the drawing, I forgot to put the pipe in there. So don't tell anybody. But I got his tattoo. That's okay. And it's weird. So part of this looks like olive oil too. There's part here where it almost has an olive oil-ish thing. So she snuck in there somehow. Alrighty. Oh yeah, Danny Eichhorn. He was a great guy. He did Real Stuff comics, and he was a guy that did autobiographical stories, and he really had stories to tell. That guy was a football player bully in high school that knocks the guy's eye out of his head. He was a bouncer. He worked in forest fires. He did a lot of things. I don't know if I should even mention them, but he walked, you know, Another guy walked on the wild side, and a hell of a guy. He was just, I did 2 stories in real stuff for him, and then a 2-pager for this and the cover. And the cover is, he was a guy who he worked for I think the welfare department, and he had to check on people to make sure they were okay or they were spending their money right. I don't know, some sort of thing where he's kind of like being a welfare cop or something. And so he meets this crazy guy, and he invites him in, and he makes peyote tea for both of them, and he drinks the peyote tea, and of course he throws up, so that's his Technicolor yawn there. And the weird thing is Noah Van Sciver did the story, the 4-page story about him meeting the guy. So I did the cover, Noah did the story, and when the book came out, he drew the guy. It looks just like this guy. It's the weirdest thing. It's like hadn't even met Noah yet. So we somehow had some psychic thing that went between our brains or something. And then there was one issue of real good stuff. I think that Pat Moriarty did the cover too, and then unfortunately Dennis passed away. And I still don't know why. So he's one of the greats. Okay, next. There's another mine shaft. That's Highway 61 and 49 is where Robert Johnson went to meet the devil to sell his soul so he could become a famous blues guitarist. And it's also in the movie Crossroads with the Karate Kid.
And Oh Brother, Where Art Thou as well.
And that too. It's a old American legend. So I figured I would sell my soul for comics, and I meet the devil, but she's a woman. So that's why she looks like that. Of course, I don't believe in that stuff, so it's all fairies in the sky to me, but it's a good legend. Okay. There's Billy the Bee. There's that dirty book. So I can answer Dale's question about Billy the Bee. I think you asked me how I got into it. Well, anyway, I've been hearing things for years about honey. It's bee vomit, it's bee poop, it's this, it's that. So one day I wasn't, had nothing better to do, and I started doing research on the internet and found out it was not only bee vomit, but the bees vomit into each other's mouths twice. And the reason they do is they have an enzyme in their body that breaks down the nectar, which is a complex sugar, sucrose, and it breaks it down into glucose and fructose, which is why honey is easily digestible by us, because it's a simple sugar. And so started researching about bees. What are they? How many, what's in a hive? And I started learning about workers and drones, and I learned all the workers are female. And I'm like, whoa, am I sitting on a feminist manifesto here or what? And just the more I learned, I couldn't believe it. I mean, one day I heard a rumor years ago that the Roman gladiators put honey on their wounds when they fought in the games. So I typed in, the Roman gladiators put honey on their wounds? They did, because honey emits hydrogen peroxide, small amounts of hydrogen peroxide. So if you ever get a cut or something, you put it on your face or something, it'll help heal. And of course, there's proteins and things in honey that are also beneficial to us, and stuff we don't even know about, really. And there's a lagoon that I live nearby called the San Elijo Lagoon. So all the backgrounds are photos. I took about 300 photos of the lagoon to get reference material. And so that's what is a stage for where Billy, she's lives in a hive that's been there for generations. And they don't know why she got so big, but the secret of Billy's secret is she's really a queen bee, but she doesn't find out until she stings a dog. See, once a bee stings somebody, they'll die, because the stinger gets ripped out of their body and it takes all their intestines with it. So Billy stings this dog and she doesn't die. And so the queen of the hive has to tell her, you are a queen, but if the workers find out, they'll kill you. And that's exactly what happens in the hive. when the bees decide to create a new queen, the queen lives only 5 to 7 years. They create a new queen, and they'll create larvae, and they'll change the DNA by putting royal jelly in their little cells. And they turn from infertile to fertile bees. Well, what happens? The first queen to emerge will sting all the other ones to death in the larva stage. So these bees are brutal. This is like heavy metal stuff, you know. And so that's kind of what got me going. And yeah, a lot of research. I couldn't read enough. I would go to websites about people that kill insects, you know, what do you call them? Come out and kill your ants and everything. Well, a lot of those websites have a lot of good information about bees. We had a bee colony collapse in our yard. I had a bee colony right under my drawing table because they came in through a vent. And so I could feel the ground. It was warm, and you could hear the wings flapping because they have to keep the temperature at about 95 degrees for the queen. So it was like everything just happened at once. I learned about bees, and bees coming into my life, and I enjoyed the process very much. So next.
It was meant to be.
There's that cut color again. Really not much to say. It was this was a time when this came out in 87, 86, 87. It seemed like the country was going through the satanic panic in the schools. See, once again, the children, bookstores were getting busted. Everybody was afraid, we can't go too far. I remember Ron Turner, somebody submitted a story with like bondage and discipline, and Ron wouldn't let us publish it. He said, "Oh, that's over." Gee, a couple of years later, Modern Primitives came out, and everybody was piercing themselves all over the world. But he wouldn't let us run that, and it was a weird time. Next.
And that's all of the posters, I think. You want me to go
Okay.
to the paintings?
Yeah, let's go to the paintings. How are we doing on time? Am I?
Well, it's 6:50, so
Oh, okay.
your call.
I keep yakking. Okay, well, there's a lot of these paintings are musicians. I had a show at our local library. I've had we have a big community room where on Wednesday they have classical music, and every month they have an art show. And the guy who's been doing this has been doing a great job. If you sell art at our library, they don't take a commission. You get all the money, which is really nice. And it's got a beautiful view of the Pacific and the ocean. I mean, it's a beautiful room. So I just did these musicians. You can just flip through these pretty quick. I just went to do a trumpet player because I like Chet Baker.
What's your medium for the color?
Acrylics. And I like doing this camo background. And then you paint over it. I like to use dark burnt umber, not black, burnt umber, because it's warmer. And then you don't have to trap the color. And it's really nice for silk screening too, because in silk screening, that's a pain in the neck trying to do registration. There's Adele. And so you do just the background color, and then you go over this, and it looks like it's moving, it's kinetic, you have your color. It's a different way of putting the color. You never know what's going to happen. It's a random thing. So I really like that. There's a young Thelonious Monk, and that's Sue Palmer. She's the queen of boogie woogie here in San Diego. She's just a really good piano player. She owns that painting.
Nice. And that's the loop there. Let me move to Velvet.
Oh no, keep scrolling down.
Wait a minute.
Get to the scary goddesses.
Oh, why did that not show? Oh my.
There we go. These are what are behind me. I got started on this scary goddess thing when Danny Hellman published Legal Action Comics and he was trying to raise money because he was in a lawsuit with Ted Rawl. It was like $1 million or something. He'd played a prank on Ted. Ted didn't like it, so it got stupid. And I said, did Our Lady of Perpetual Litigation. And I thought, being they tried to raise me. Oh, there it is. They tried to raise me Catholic, didn't take, but there's all this, the imagery of the Catholic religion is real gothic. Anyway, so we have the lawyer here sucking on the breast. Wait, go back. Blood out of a turnip, money. Here, the Greek goddess, and she's expelling skulls and blood because that's what happens in a lot of lawsuits. There's a judge on the tit with the attorney. They're always in bed together, as we've seen recently. So that was the first one. So my whole process was to put a real weird border and then have the title on the top and then go from there. I was going to do 30 of them, but I only have 8 of them right now. This is for La Luz de Jesus. They had a 25th anniversary show a few years back for people who had shown at La Luz. And so I did Our Lady of Systematic Solipsism. And solipsism is the philosophy that you are the most important person on earth. Everything you do is the bomb. So I thought about that, how we, take our selfies and we buy our Mercedes and we use religion as a drug, and everybody wants to be a stripper. All these women who are singers right now, they look like showgirls to me. They don't even look like singers like Joni Mitchell and Bonnie Raitt and stuff. I hate Lady Gaga. I like Miley because she's a stoner and she can sing. And but these other ones, they make me sick in my stomach. And that's kind of what this is, with the American Stars and Stripes and everything. It's in it. I mean, it's all over the world. People are nuts. This thing, people taking selfies in front of geysers, and then they fall or zoos, and then they fall in the zoo. Lions eat them because they're got to get these pictures. I mean, constantly. I do not carry a cell phone around. I refuse. When I go to LA, I have it in the car in case I get a flat tire. All right, next one, please. Oh yes, my favorite subject, religion. This is Our Lady of Organized Vituperation, and vituperation means to berate or keep or suppress someone. And I think when people come into the world, they're good and they're innocent and they want to do right, but then they get involved in these wacky religions and they end up all killing each other. Even Buddha, after Buddha attained enlightenment, there were different factions that thought they were more Buddha than the other Buddha group, and they started fighting with each other. It's just damn human nature. So I've got a pharaoh, Hare Krishna, Jesus, it might be Confucius, the Lady of Guadalupe, and there's a Buddha type face. Jesus, of course, I couldn't put Muhammad on here, but Jesus, you could either or on that one. But I had way too much fun drawing these characters killing each other down here. That took a year to do too. What I do is I pencil on with a pencil. Then I do the line work first, fill in the negative space, and then I go over the line work again to get it perfect. So all that takes quite a bit of time. And these borders take forever to do, but that's what I want. I want something that's real, technically challenging. Okay. Well, this is obvious. My issue with guns, how I feel about them. I'm not anti-gun, but our gun laws are wacky. So that's kind of what, we've got the skeletons here enjoying themselves, toasting to all the deaths the guns have caused, and the stripper is wearing, a gun outfit like Josephine Baker with her banana skirt.
Mm-hmm.
This was at the Oceanside Art Museum. And it was so funny because it was in the main room, and some little boy about 8 years old goes, "Mommy, look what I found." I'm like, oh my God. So she grabbed him, took him in the other room. See, that's what parents are supposed to do. But it's okay for the kids to look. And then she can explain to him, this is art. Yeah. Okay. And Our Lady of Conspicuous Consumption is kind of. I didn't mean to have Jimmy chew shoes, but somebody pointed that out. I go, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, the credit card is cutting the guy his hand, plastic surgery, just regurgitating patriotism, ruining the earth, you know. Okay. Let's just look at one more and then we'll go to the velvet paintings. This was for Guitar Player magazine. It was originally an illustration back painted with the animation paints, and it was supposed to be about Bootsy Collins. So a friend of mine say I did a reggae one, a funkadelic guy, and then a blues guy. And this guy goes, you should really, for Guitar Player, you make a painting out of this. So this one's 24 by 36 inches. Everybody thinks that a lot of younger people think it's Jimi Hendrix too. Jimmy never played a bass. So
That's all of them.
enjoyed celebrity. Yeah. Okay.
Mary, can I make a comment that your work really, with its clarity, clean line, the color, it really looks digital. You're getting those effects, but you're doing them with traditional mediums.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, you can't get much more traditional than liquid text on, canvas from Aaron Brothers. Okay, velvet paintings. I always loved velvet paintings because I grew up in Southern California, and when you went to TJ or Tijuana or Mexico, people would have velvet paintings. When I grew up in West Covina, that was Tikiville and velvet paintings. I mean, people had tikis and the Chinese lettering on their garages, and people would have velvet paintings, but landscapes, or views of the bay somewhere. And I don't know, I just got a wild hair one day and I got some velvet and I had some oil paints. So this is oil. And the reason you have to use oil is if you put, velvet, it's like there's a backing and then you have the fuzzy stuff. It's like, fur. If you put acrylic on that, all the color will go through the fur, out through the backing, and it will be gone in the morning, or all splotchy. It just doesn't work.
Wow.
And if you put it on more than once, it turns into plastic, and it just doesn't work. So with oil, you just paint. I take a chalk pencil, not a pastel, because there's oil in pastel. Take a chalk pencil, you draw on the fabric. If you make a mistake, you just wipe it off with your hand or a lint brush or stiff brush. And then you just start painting. I tried using liquid because that dries the paint quicker. It's better to use it right out of the tube. And titanium white takes about a week to dry for some reason. Yeah. So there's this cat named Frank and Louie that was in the news. That was a Janus cat that had two faces. And he just died at age, I think he made it to 18. It was a Guinness World Book record thing. And I think and I've always been a big fan of Best in Show, that movie. So I thought it'd be funny. They always say people look like their pets. So I thought I'd have a person with two faces that had a cat that had two faces. So this is called Best of Breed. And I have a tuxedo cat named Schminky. So he was my model for that. And then what you do is you paint, and the fabric will only take so much paint. And you kind of put the paint on like eye makeup. Ladies, you know what I mean. And so you let the paint dry maybe a couple of days. Then you go back and bump up the color. And then you could get the, more whiter whites here. But you don't do it all over. You just do it a little bit like painting when you want to highlight the cheekbones. You just do it right here. So I probably went over the green and then the purple. And that's how you do velvet paintings. They go very quickly. I was in a show down at TJ at the Cultural Center, and they had guys that were in their 90s that grew up on the streets painting the bullfights. Yep. And all they would have is a tube of green paint. So they would just paint until they got rid of that tube of green, and they try to use as little paint on as possible. So I have a collection of velvet paintings. I got about probably 30 of them. And these guys really do try to use, they do not use this much paint on their paintings in TJ. So it was fascinating meeting all these people. There's three kinds of velvet. There's polyester, cotton, and nylon. And nylon's the best because the fur is stiffer, the nap. And so I go to the UFO upholstery place out here in Escondido, and I buy bolts of it. And you can paint on purple, you can paint on blue, you can paint on the English people in the 1800s painted flowers on white velvet. That's kind of where it started. Okay, next one.
Mary, can I point
Yeah.
something out real quick about a velvet painting? I once found for $2 a huge velvet painting with an absolutely gorgeous painting of a Great Dane, a Harlequin Great Dane. And it was beautiful. And they used the black of the velvet to shine through as the spots. I gave it to a friend to try to sell it for me. I've lost track of her now, but it was signed Varga.
Yeah, that's a common name. He's well known.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
So
one.
I don't know what happened to it, but it was gorgeous.
Yeah, well, they have a way of signing their names too. So for a while, I was doing these paintings, and I was just putting an M with the date, which was probably not a good idea. But anyway, I have a friend who's a manic depressive, and he's a really good artist, but he's out of his mind. And he likes to do these double-headed women. So I kind of stole this idea from him. And this one's called "Put It on My Tab." And I did this before I saw that annoying movie of the blue cat people. What was it called? Oh, you probably all saw it.
Avatar.
Yeah. Everybody thought I copied that. No. I have
Dances with Space Aliens.
some of my friends had a gift shop here in town, and they specialized in folk art from Mexico. And so they gave me this. I have this statue. It actually looks like this. It's this red sort of devil thing with a snake head. And he's a famous folk artist in New Orleans named Ivy Billio. It's spelled Billy Ott, but you know French, Billio. And so this thing really does exist. It's down in my studio. It's very sinister looking. Next. This was in, let's see, there was a tiki show at the Minna Gallery in San Francisco, and that got sold there, and it's in a tiki book. What tiki book is it in? I don't know, there's a bunch of tiki books, and I have this connection to the tiki world for some reason. Okay, I started thinking about women's shoes and how crazy they are, and how fashion's just crazy. And I like that guy Lee Bowery that did that video. He was the guy who would wear puffy balloon things, and now you're seeing guys wearing these balloon pants. Lee Bowery's vision it's becoming realized. So I thought it'd be funny to paint women, and you know, with manicures and pedicures, and you see like people on Facebook, they have like eyelashes that look like spider legs and hair coming out of your nose, right? Have you seen that one where the new thing is you have eyelashes coming out of your nose? So I thought, well, what if women start, you know, walking on their hands, have shoes that look like hands, and then they wear shoes on their hands, their feet look like hands. And it's weird. I saw somebody walking on the beach with Ugg boots on her hands because she was cold, and I was going, oh my God. So I did these voodoo ladies. This is Voodoo Gidget. And somebody bought this. I couldn't believe it. The velvet painted so well, actually. Okay. There's another one. Putting out her cigarette. I like to do wacky stuff. I want my velvet paintings to look like really bad thrift store art. So I like the campy, you know, bizarre stuff, because a lot of paintings when you go into thrift stores are just so incredibly horrible. They're wonderful. There's a book out, I think, called Thrift Store Paintings. It's really good. All right, next one.
If you're trying for bad, Mary, you're not succeeding. Sorry.
This one's called On the Road Less Traveled. No, it's called Vision on the Road. No, Apparition on the Road Less Traveled. And this is my friend's MG car that he let me paint. It's a real car. And, you know, what if you were on that highway out there with Jim Morrison where those Indians got killed? You might see that. Who knows? You all know the story of Jim Morrison and the Indians, right? No? Well, when he was a child, they were in Arizona, and they were driving at night, and there'd been a horrible accident. There were all these Indians, and it affected Morrison a lot. And he always felt like the souls of those Indians jumped in his body. And he he said that when he was tortured from that day on. And that's why in the movie that Oliver Stone made, when he's singing, there's that Indian guy on the side of the stage, the kind of the ghostly image of the Indian. And that's what that's from. Plus he was a messed up guy. Yeah. So this was for a tiki show that, where was this one? I can't keep track of them. Anyway, I thought it'd be funny to have a woman singing on karaoke night really badly. So these guys are just kind of like, oh my God.
Love it.
Now there's another voodoo gal. Keep going. I did quite a few of these series of people with their pets, like the best of breed. I forgot the name of this one, but that's my cat too, Schminky. He's got a little dot on his. Schminky is German for makeup, so that's why he got his name. Okay, keep going. Okay, keep going. I think we're okay. Meow. Okay, the only other thing is an interview, but we don't, we're doing that. So, well, thank you, Bill.
No problem. Ooh.
That was a wild ride.
Yeah, and these paintings, they're right behind me, the ones we just saw. Here they are all on the wall.
Yeah.
Right here.
You got your own gallery going on there.
Nice.
You should
Well,
walk us
yeah.
around your house, man. Her house is
We-
amazing.
When you were here, this
Uh-huh.
thing, there was no way you had to like kind of crawl on the floor to get to the washer and dryer. It was 25 years worth of crap, and the rats had gotten in everything, and it was dreadful. So we got everything out of here. We had our guys come in, insulated the walls, replaced everything, painted it, got rid of, just to the studs. And I decided I wanted to turn this into our jam room because, of course, over here is my, see, where is it? My set of drums, and then I got my guitars and everything back here, so we could jam out here. And then I have my little space where I could show my art because it used to be the couch. That's not very professional. So everything's out here safe and sound. And the main reason I did these paintings, I wanted something that was just something, done really, not like the musicians, I can sell fairly reasonably. I wanted stuff like if I ever do a show at the Oceanside Art Museum and I want some really badass art, I got my scary goddesses.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yeah, it was nice cleaning the garage because it's like having a room, another room in my house. My house is only like 900 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. But we live on 1/3 of an acre. So I'm a gardener and I grow all my vegetables every summer. And my water bill is pretty high, but I'd rather, it's my gym, basically, my yard. But yeah, when you were there, we had the kitchen fixed up. Yeah. But the outside of the house now is my whole outside of my house is completely a broken tile mural. Every so it's a big mosaic. And that was I think I had the back wall done when you were here.
Yeah, you took us outside to show us, and
Yeah.
that's what I was. I know you've been posting on Facebook about, the things you've been doing at the house, and it just, it's amazing. It's one of those houses that people will work on for years, like stone towers and everything that you see, and it's going to be one of these magic houses.
I don't know. The way people tear down stuff around here is just awful. Well, what you saw was, see, we had for about 2001, for about 5 years, Paul and I had a midlife crisis. And so we had bands and we were playing in bars and we were playing all the time. And then we stopped that and I just got sick of it. So I started the Mosaic because when you're in a band and you've been doing it and you get sick of everybody, you would rather do anything than play music. So that's when I started the wall back there. And I didn't know how to grout it. I tried using a float, and the grout was falling on the ground. Well, I since learned to use a spatula, an old-fashioned spatula. You use to ice your cakes, and it works great with the grout. You get it right in there. So for 12 years, that wall was not grouted. In 2016, I found I had a hole in my retina, in my right eye. I almost lost my vision. So I had to get laser surgery and all that crap, and it was not painful at all. It went very well. I couldn't draw. I couldn't put my contacts in. I had glasses, but he advised me not to do close work. So that's when I finished the back wall, then I did the patio, and then I did the front of the house. And I'm glad it worked out that way, because the one wall that you see when you walk to the front door turned out the very best, because a gal down the street gave me 20 boxes of tile and glass and metal and plates and stuff. I mean, I had for nothing. So it looks really beautiful. I'm really glad I did it, because it was all stucco and it was very ugly. But I don't know. People don't preserve stuff. Who's the guy? Jack London owned a home on Neptune Avenue here in Leucadia, and they tore it down.
Wow.
Yeah, that's historic. I don't Encinitas, it's crazy around here. It's I don't know. Nobody who has a child.
Ray
Huh?
Bradbury's house got burned down in Culver City,
Oh,
or
God.
West LA. Yeah, Ray Bradbury's house.
Ain't right.
Yep.
Yeah. And in
That
the 80s,
ain't
they
right.
took down the watchtowers. Remember there was talk of that?
Yep.
Do you remember that,
Yes.
Michael? Because you're up in Pasadena, and yeah, some idiots up there, and they said, well, why not? It's probably the city council, because they're idiots, most of them. So,
Well, Mary, this has been fabulous. Just
Remember-
wonderful.
Yes.
good. Well, I hope you're all enjoying it. It's the second Zoom thing I've done in a week, so I'm kind of, don't want to yak too much,
Oh, well, you had so much wonderful art to show. I'm almost willing to ask you to go outside and show us the house.
Well, I could kinda. Let's see. Let's
He's gonna
try.
do it. Take the computer. Remember
here's-
when computers were whole buildings, and now you can just walk around the house with them?
Look, here's a velvet painting. It's 48 by 60 inches.
Yo. Woo.
It's called Our Lady of Oodles Way, Off Way, Oodles Way, and that's oodles of poodles in pig Latin.
I never thought of having a house tour with these guys. I'm gonna have to ask them to do it. Take your darn thing and run around, see what other art you got.
You can kind of see
Oh my gosh.
Ooh,
here.
wow.
Look at that.
Is it showing up? Good.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
And then over here, let's see. That's my dog barking.
Helping. Look at this.
And that's one of my ceramic pots. I do pottery too, and I broke it up to
Oh my goodness.
add to the effect. Wait a minute. Well, anyway,
Look at that.
so yeah, that worked out pretty good.
That did work out. We're gonna have to ask artists to do that again. Show us your house, so don't run around with your laptop. That was great.
Want to watch me wash my hair? I'll take it out when I'm coloring my hair.
At least you got water.
Oh, no, we don't have water. You guys, it's bad down here. It is so dry.
No, I mean in my town,
oh yeah,
nobody has water. The pipes broke and they don't know when they're getting them fixed.
because of the ice and the cold.
Because
or
of a slide, which
oh shit.
I think somebody was clear cutting for a development and the whole thing came down on the road.
Yeah.
Talking about idiot builders.
Well, I was telling Bill, my brother lives in White Rock, and right now nobody can get in or out of Vancouver. Maybe today, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was
It's
cut off from
300
the rest of the country.
Yeah, that's what I hear. And yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah, we're finally going to get a bath tomorrow.
How long have you been without water?
About, oh Lord, week.
Oh,
Yeah, well, okay, we're using water barrels and people are dipping out of the river and the PUD's got water in a truck downtown. And I said, the heck with it. And I got a big old storage container and damn it, we're going to get a bath. I don't care how it works out.
Yeah, we used to have a hot tub, but we always thought, well, if anything gets really bad, we could drink that water. But unfortunately, the rats that live around here had other ideas. And I went out there one day and there was a pile of foam and they chewed right through the plastic and I had to get rid of it.
Oh man.
Yeah. But I didn't like it. I don't know. I felt bad having that big piece of plastic and the electromagnetic vibrations were affecting the plants. And so as soon as we got rid of it, within a week, the plants started looking better. They did because the engine makes a very high pitched whine that you really can't hear, but the plants they started growing and they look better. It's the damnedest thing I ever saw.
Well, we all get affected by sound.
That's true.
You know.
As the Tibetan mystics say, we were all vibration. Everything's vibration.
Yep, we're basketball deaf because the kids in back, but. Can't hear the basketball anymore.
Well, anybody else want to?
Is there? Well, I guess we would have to ask the next time we get a live appearance. But I guess this is what we can do. And anybody, I know I speak for Bill and the rest of us that you know, Cartoonists Northwest meetings. They're here every month, and they're having a drink and draw. So
yeah,
don't be a stranger.
Yeah, though I have to inform everybody because our normal time slot is on Thanksgiving. We're moving it to Saturday this time, and hoping as many people are show up and everybody who's not doing their holiday shopping shows up.
And you can talk about Comic-Con.
We have our memories.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could I mention something about Comic-Con that's somewhat self-serving? That I have this class, a history of comics class that Mary occasionally drops in on it, at least to listen into my guest speakers, at least until dinner's ready, and then she has splits. But speaking of Comic-Con, on Monday, Jim Thompson and I are going to be talking about the Eisner Awards. He was a judge this year, and I was one last year. So basically, we are going to do a deep dive into what goes on behind the scenes with him and I. And we're going to talk about all sorts of things, including the Hall of Fame. And so if anybody is interested, it's one of the freebies. It's 4 p.m. Pacific time. And if you're interested, I could type in the link over here.
Yeah, share the link.
If that's not too... okay, let's see if I can remember.
Why would you keep that to yourself? We want to see that.
Oh, good.
I've always wondered who was nutty enough to be a judge for that thing. There.
Anyway, it's really freewheeling. So yeah, please feel free to express your opinions. Okay, so that's the one that, okay, it doesn't look like it links well. That's the short link, but maybe somebody can copy and paste and make sure it's working. But I don't yeah, didn't have the long link handy. But oh, wait a minute, here it is. Okay, this will be easier because it's just one click. Yeah, and yeah, there's and this is going back to the beginning, speaking about San Diego Comic Fest. It was myself, Jim Thompson, and Mary did a panel at Comic Fest called the Offensive Panel. And we worked on being as offensive as possible. And I guess so much so that we did not get a dinner out of it. So I am really bummed about that.
That is not right.
And this guy swears like a sailor too. Gets going. So you mean when I heard Peter Cooper talking, I could have asked him questions and interrupted him when he was talking?
Sure, why not?
I remember that. No,
Definitely. Yeah, this
no,
is going to
Peter
be
Cooper was great.
Yeah. Oh man, he's so good. Yeah, this should be a lot more freewheeling because we're
Yeah.
just, it's basically, I mean, Peter was delivering a presentation that he had prepared. With us, it's just going to be him and me and a lot of images. Most of Mary can tell you, most of the time on my class, there are slides going on. So it's not just, talking heads or anything like that. So it'll be fun. And yeah, I'd love to have you folks give your own thoughts and chime in. So anyway, check it out. It's free. It's Monday at 4.
And of course, you've got the information on your Facebook page.
Oh yeah, that's right. That too. But I think, I think if you click on there, that'll give you the basics.
Mhm.
But yeah. So yeah, and Mary will be there until dinner time. So like
No, come on now. No,
an
this is what-
hour.
no.
She knows what's important.
I told
Priorities.
I told my husband, do not bother me from, what was it, 4 to 6 or so, whatever it was. I had it on the calendar. I had a post note in the bathroom. And he forgot. And so I'm listening to Peter and I'm just like spellbound because Peter's had his ups and downs like the rest of us too. That's what made it great because he would rally around and get over his obstacle and come through shining. And I hear this, dinner's ready. And I'm like, what? It's right in the good part too. And I'm going, oh God, Mike's going to hate me. Oh, but I went in there and we had a fight, of course. And so I told him tonight, I said, we're going to eat dinner at 4. You like to eat early? We'll eat early. No bother me. Just 5:30.
Just bring it to the meeting. You can eat and watch at the same time.
Oh,
Well, actually, I was actually hoping you'd stick around long enough that we could get into that whole business that you covered here about how Billy the Bee got banned. And that sort of thing. We're going to be talking about banned comics on Monday as well.
Good.
So you'll be able to chime in then.
Well, I know Alex. He and Jim Thompson interviewed.
Yeah,
me
Jim.
last year. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim and
great.
I are going to be talking about how some of the things that we're very keen on. We're now, I mean, Texas is screwing up in just about every way possible, but they've got a bunch of banned books. And so, yeah, we're going to be, basically we're going to be saying, we're proud of the fact that Laura Dean, which was, I think that was actually an award winner last year. One of the ones that I was pushing for, that's one of the ones that I just read was banned somewhere in the United States. But so, yeah, anyway, enough about me. Let's get back to Mary.
Well, I was going to say real quick, I've got your Facebook page up here. It's the part judging the Eisner Awards. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, it's over on his face. It's Michael Dooley at Facebook, and it's judging the Eisner Awards. There it is.
Yeah, and oh.
Well, I have a question for Michael. How many days did you read books, and how many books did you read?
I don't know if it approached 1,000. It certainly felt that way, and it wasn't just days, because that was the thing. Because I was a judge during quarantine time, and usually part of the idea is like everybody comes and converges in this room for 4 or 5 days and reads everything together. With us, it was we were exchanging books through the mail back. If I found out about media mail, so I'd be wearing the mask to the post office, and we would just constantly be delivering to each other. And actually, Comixology helped a whole lot. They wound up making a lot of the books that we were looking at, the comics, available to us for the, so yeah, it was many hundreds but it was over like, we started in October and we wound up going until I think the end of May. So
Oh.
yeah, so a lot.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So I have to leave. But I really want to thank you for your presentation. It
Oh,
was wonderful.
Thank you.
And I felt like, as I was listening to everybody, I felt like I was looking through a kaleidoscope. Just because of the different perspectives.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, before we all leave, if anybody leaves or anything, Bill, get a screenshot.
Oh, yes.
Oh, thank you.
We're all waiting.
And
There we
Have
go.
you got it, Bill?
Got it.
Got it. He got it.
good.
Okay. We're permanent.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that we have a Facebook page and all these things you guys are talking about, please post it on our Facebook page. That's what it's there
Yes.
for. So Michael, you talking about this meeting on Monday,
Oh.
please put it there.
I,
Bye.
Bye, Amy. Nice to see you.
Bye, Amy.
adios, amiga.
Yeah, Donna's books are contraband. That sounds like even better than just being banned.
No.
Where is that? Where are you banned?
Weird places, around the world, places that you wouldn't expect, in places in Africa and Israel and God knows where else they have.
Oh.
The peach? The peach is in Africa?
Every place.
Wow.
The peach is everywhere. I mean, I don't know where the stupid thing ended up, the peach and a lot of stints, but the peach ended up everywhere. It is, I keep picking up new readers, but you know what I really hate is when a new reader comes in and goes, my grandmother loved your stuff. That's okay, because that's the other thing about putting stuff up on Webtoons and having Patreon and everything like this. People go, oh, I'm not doing any more new books. You're going to put your stuff on Instagram, and you're going to pick up a whole bunch of young readers because they haven't seen it before. Put all
Yeah,
my stuff up on Webtoons.
I found that out. Some woman on Instagram had something like 60 of my images on her page. And I wrote her and I said, I appreciate you liking my artwork, but you're not crediting my name under any of the images. And that is like
Not
being
cool.
a bad girl. And she didn't know. She had no idea. She just found them on the computer.
Yeah, well, people will share
what you're
things
saying is true.
without saying who it is. That's a real problem.
Yeah. Well,
But
she
you
just
probably
didn't-
picked up a new fan there.
Well, I thanked her, but then I had to say now.
But give me credit for this. This is my site.
Yeah. Well, I don't have I had a page, but I just don't have time to do that right now. Download stuff. I'm busy doing all this other crap.
Well, it's like I say, if you got an Instagram page, Instagram's easy. You just every morning.
Oh,
you
I
pick
know.
up a
That's what
fan.
they're all doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's easy. It's great. Patreon's easy. I mean, all this stuff, you just zip through it in the morning while you're trying to get sane over a cup of coffee. I dread the fact I have to drink a caffeine shandy tomorrow morning because I accidentally made one.
What's a cafe shanty?
A caffeine shandy. I accidentally put the cold brew in beer, and I will not waste caffeine.
You put
Actually,
coffee
no.
in beer?
Yeah, coffee beer, but I tell you what, it's not that bad actually. It's an accident.
Depends on what kind of
It's a speedball.
It's a speedball. I tried heating it this morning. It was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, don't do that. Rolling Rock makes great shandies, but you shouldn't try it with the cold brew. I thought it was fruit juice.
Oh. You might have started something,
Oh, I'm sure. No, people are making coffee beers. They're doing it. I'm not I didn't invent that. I just made a really.
Wow. Well, my husband interrupts my next Zoom meeting. I'll make him a little coffee beer drink as punishment.
They're not that bad, actually. A little coffee syrup in the beer, and it's not that bad. Look, beer and caffeine. What do you want? Anyway, I should probably run too because I got people to feed, and I am so glad this came out so well. Bill, please check the drink and draw link to make sure that's working right, because
I'm pretty sure
it was coming up as that, and then we'll just make sure we can all get together on the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Indeed. Look forward to seeing everybody there.
Yes, I had a blast. This was
Great,
amazing.
great seeing your artwork, Mary. Great having
Thank
you
you.
talk about it too. Love your stuff, and it's
Great,
really happy
Steve.
that you got a chance to talk about it.
Yep.
Thanks.
And if
Yeah. Well, thanks, Donna, because she's the one that contacted me. And at first I kind of blocked. And
Well,
then I thought, what the heck? Donna, it'll be fun if Donna's involved.
well, poor Bill got stuck trying to find talent, and then he ran out, how many other people, he tried to get me and Roberta to do it again, but we have done it so many times. It's like, come on, give somebody else a chance. And then I realized I know a bajillion artists.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go out and just start. Well, you know how I can twist your arm. So Melody Pina, if we're lucky, is up for January. If you got that contact going, Bill.
I think you
Or not for January, but December.
Yeah, though I was remembered that unless we have do something resembling the Christmas party on December, right?
Okay, then we'll move it.
Yeah.
I'll talk to her about it, but let's see if we can get that together for January then.
Okay, cool.
So Donna, you are our new speaker coordinator. Is that what I'm hearing?
I kind of am at this point because I just know a lot of artists and I know how to get a hold of them. And they are so different. I mean, the people I know, I know a few superhero people, but I know everybody from, when Sergio Aragones and Alan Moore are two of your fans, because we are, how we're fans of each other's stuff. And we all know each other, and oh hell, maybe I'll go bother Neil Gaiman or God knows what else,
Or Sergio, wouldn't that be
the whole,
something?
I don't know if I can get a hold, if they'll do it because they're way busy.
Yeah.
But it's like I tell people, we know all these people because back when the comics world was itty bitty thing, and you remember when the San Diego Comic Con was tiny? Everybody knew each other. Everybody went to the same shows, and so we all know these people. And I know a lot of the underground people and a lot of the alternative people. I know fine art people and all kinds of people. As you can see, I know potters, and not the kind you're thinking of, Mary. And but anyway, yeah, I guess I'm speaker coordinator at this point.
All right.
Oh, great job.
Yeah, well, I have great people. Look at, I wanted Mary real bad because I knew her stuff was just going to blow everybody away.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
Okay.
Thank
I'm going to
you.
run,
Thank you
and
all.
happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and I'll see
Yeah.
you next Saturday.
Speaking of thanks.
Okay.
Hi.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Mary.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bill,
Mary.
are we all signing off?
I guess so.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adios.
Yeah.
Nice.
Adios.
Okay, well, good evening.
Good evening. All right. Thank you again, Bill.
Yep, a pleasure.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.